Hello, Internet. Thank you very much for being here again. Now, you might recognise some of these faces. You might recognise some of these names rather than the faces. But this is the very talented team behind the recent smash hit, Cohabiting Lover. And I loved it, so I did my usual of like, can I talk to you all, please? And they kindly said yes. So I'm going to let them all give a brief intro of who they are and what their role was in making Cohabiting Lover.
Hey guys, I'm Dede Harlan. Very nice to meet all of you. I am the director of this project, this very loving project, and then with all my talented crew and cast here. So nice to meet you guys.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I am the producer writer of the project along with Kaelyn, so you'll hear twice of the same introduction. But we co-wrote the script and we produced it back in February.
I'm Kaelyn. I'm the writer and producer, and I also played the bookseller.
Badalov, and I played Andy in Cohabitating Lovers, created by this amazing cast and crew that we've got here. Kirby.
My name is Kirby. Sorry if there's a delay. I played Corinne in Cohabitating Lover, and I was lucky enough to be cast by these wonderful people in this project, which was so much fun. I've never done like a big rom-com like that, so it was like such a pleasure.
So Tiffany and Kaelyn then, as the writers, I have to ask, where did the idea come from? What was the inspiration? What were the early bits of the script and what were the bits that came in later? How did that process work?
So Sereal, the original platform for it, actually approached us with like a very bare bones version of the story. It was pretty different than what it is now. The characters were kind of like blank slate, and it was sort of like, it was a runaway bride and it was like roommates who fell in love. I think the original, like they threw in a kidnapping and a pregnancy and like some crazy stuff that we ended up taking out, but they basically gave it to us and told us like, expand on this, pitch us like a more in-depth story. But they were, they wanted a rom-com, so we kind of grabbed onto Corinne being a runaway bride. We thought that was really funny and immediately reminded us of like Rachel and Friends. Like she just comes in, and it's also kind of, we saw a juxtaposition there, like an opportunity where you have this vertical heiress trope, but she's supplanted into the real world, and you can play with a lot of the comedic potential there. And sort of the same with Andy, like he's kind of the vertical CEO, but we could play with a juxtaposition there as well of like he's also in the real world. And yeah, so we added a few of our things. We pulled inspiration from like Friends, from Legally Blonde. That bookstore scene is an homage to Legally Blonde. A lot of different things. Tiff, anything to add?
No, I think it's obviously like they had a vision of rom-com in mind, but then when we actually executed as a rom-com, they were like, there was a lot of pushback and sort of they're like, it's not vertical enough. So there was like couple like pretty big script revisions throughout the process that Dede had also sit as a part of where it's a push and pull of being there like, but what if you add this punch? What if you add a slap? What if you add like this and this? And we have to be like, no, that's not how like a rom-com character would behave. So there was a lot of push and pull in that, but I think in the end we found like a pretty happy middle ground that everyone was kind of happy with. So yeah, I'm glad it happened. Yeah.
I think as fans watching it, that's what's been great about it as well, because as you said, it takes some of the vertical tropes, but it is a little bit more grounded in reality. And it's just so refreshing because it's just boring, like as a viewer. I'm sure it's a little bit tedious for all of you as well. Of just like, oh, look, it's a pregnancy, and oh, they've been kidnapped, and oh, there's a slap, and oh, there goes the coffee. And it's a bit like, we need to move on. So that's why this is so exciting that you've done that. I have to ask, as a bookseller, who's the Anna Karenina fan who put that in?
You know what? It's so funny. It was originally Pride and Prejudice, and the EP said, no, let's do a different book. So I think I had seen someone talk about Anna Karenina on Twitter that day, and I was like, you know what? That'd be awesome. I'll just put that in.
Yeah, they called Pride and Prejudice too basic. They said if Andy hasn't even read Pride and Prejudice, then it's a little embarrassing. We were like, okay.
Was Pride and Prejudice that wasn't vertical enough? Anna Karenina is a little bit more vertical, right?
I think that VP hasn't actually read Anna Karenina, so she's like, that's good. That's like a more like niche book to her. It ended up being that. But I in my mind, these two are like about the same level of you should
I love that detail. So once you've got the script, presumably Dede's the next person who gets involved, and how does that come about?
Well, you know what? I really love the way it came out eventually because as Kaelyn and Tiffany were talking about, I was involved in the creating section with the EP. Like she basically dragged me to be involved because I just really want them to create, right? But originally they wanted to be like a solid American rom-com. But eventually they wanted that way, but eventually it kind of pivoted to a very dramatic vertical again. So it was kind of in the between of the creating process. And that's kind of upsetting us. But eventually, I love the final script. It's being a very grounded, solid American rom-com, and it's totally different than the other vertical. And it's a comedy, so I was very excited to do that. I was very excited to be able to create another comedy. And fun fact, this is actually the second non-LGBT vertical that I have ever done. And the first one that I've done is with Kirby as well, right? And this time I was like,
Yeah, that's
okay,
true.
let's get Kirby again. As soon as I read the script, I was like, let's get Kirby again. And then Tiffany and Kaelyn they agree with me. So we just went to Kirby right away and we had her to do the self-tape and then was like, that's it, that's Kirby. And then we found Ellie along the way. We found Ali along the way and he was perfect for the role as well. So I just want to say that I'm very, very lucky to get these two amazing talent to be with me along this journey. And I also remember every day we were being very on time and very efficient, very productive. I would say this is the smoothest set that I've ever been in.
Same.
Yeah, same.
That's credit to all of you, isn't it? That's credit to everyone.
And
So
hopefully
Kirby,
so funny.
you were
Yes.
first choice for the role. How does that feel?
I know, that's so sweet. You know, it's so funny. I was just thinking about when you were talking about that. I was like, I almost didn't even submit an audition for this because I was working another set and I just like forgot to do the audition. I remember Tiffany being like, hey, are you gonna send me that audition? I was like, oh shoot. Yeah, I'm so sorry. And then I did it like really fast and I was like, here it is. So sorry. So make sure you do your auditions, friends.
So I have to say, kind of, Kirby, you've done some more comedic roles or kind of done that thing. But Ali, I can't remember seeing you in anything this straight, like as out and out comedy as this is. I know you've been in bits where there's been bits of comedy. Was that quite nice to sort of break out of some of the other genres you've
Yeah,
done?
for sure. I think I've done, I don't know if I've ever done any that are full all the way through rom-coms, but I'd say I probably did about two or three where that was more so the vibe. Certainly a couple of them. I think I've done like a mafia rom-com and then a CEO kind of a rom-com as well. But yeah, I think rom-coms and I think comedy works, but personal opinion works really well in the vertical space or genre. I don't know if vertical is a medium or a genre anymore, honestly, but I think it works really well. I think it's there's something about the fast pace of comedy and kind of like whether it's the verbal humor or like the slapsticky nature of even just kind of like scrolling through a feed. It works really well and it kind of the dramas are super fun as well, for sure. But I think the comedies just kind of like feel nice and contained within the platform. So I really love this. I don't remember the audition process, but you can tell from they send you a couple of pages and you can tell pretty quickly what the vibe they're going for is. And whenever it's a rom com or something more of a comedic nature, I get pretty excited about it because those are super fun to do. And Kirby's hilarious, just like very, very naturally, just as a person, hilarious also. So it was a lot of fun, like just like you get to kind of be goofy without like the even some of the more dramatic moments in this one. I think we were still able to find a lot of comedy, and it never got too you know how it goes. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I would say this vertical's a lesson of if you want to watch a vertical and sort of see how to get the viewer's attention. It's a lesson in how to capture people because on that first episode it goes, there's no like prequel. Brilliantly, we don't see the wedding. You're just there at the house. It's also clearly different because it's not a mansion, so that's new. It's like, oh, that's an apartment. That's
Yes.
a normal house. And then obviously you're both fighting over the door and then there's just this brilliant voice in the background about keeping it down and like people are hooked from the first 2 episodes. How was it filming in a normal apartment, not a mansion?
It was
Cramped a
very
little bit.
interesting. Yeah, it was a little cramped. And we were lucky because originally we were just gonna find like one apartment and just somehow fit like the entire crew and cast in there. So we were like, we should like get it like a slightly bigger. But then when we found the one that we were filming in, the owner was super nice. It was like a buy one, get one free deal. So it was actually, so like all the apartment scenes you see in there is actually a room in one of the 2 apartments. We were primarily in one, but then we were also using the other one for like a few of the scenes that are not in their apartment. So that was nice because then you have like the base camp in one of them and then filming in the other. So it ended up like, I think, saving a little bit, and also like it added like a bit of a variety to the room. And I think so we were like really lucky to do that. And it's also like, it's just super nice sort of in an apartment that we like kind of all have like lived in at some point, and it just to see like a more grounded version of like what vertical dramas can be. It doesn't have to be in like $1 million mansion.
Talking about being more grounded, I must say one of my favourite scenes, I'm going to come back to other ones, is when Corinne goes shopping and you're like, oh, right, it's going to be a typical vertical. She's gone and spent all the money. And there's this brilliant thing where Andy comes in and it's like, what the heck have you done? There's more swear words in that. Like, we've wanted that in every single vertical we've ever watched. Someone to go, what have you spent on clothes? Did you laugh when you saw that and that you were going to get to play that and not just go, yeah, spend all the money?
I mean, I laughed reading the whole script, like the whole thing. I was like, oh, this is so good. Oh, this is so good. I can't believe we get to do this. Like the olive oil part on the floor, just like scooting along was also really fun. And then like the domestic stuff, like seeing her not be able to do laundry is also just like so good because she's trying so hard. And I think that's like the funny part about it too, is like she has no ill will, just like she just doesn't know, you know? So like every single part. But I think, and I know they let me add things along the way, which is really nice. Like I would have an idea and they'd be like, yeah, let's try it. I'm like, okay, great. Like the snow globe. I remember talking to Dede about the snow globe part at the very beginning. And I was like, I know you want me to take the whole bag, but like, can I just take the snow globe to the room? Like I think it's just one valuable thing. Like let's make it a thing, you know?
Yeah, and that's why I love working with Kirby and Ali because they kept giving me new ideas, and I love to let them just improvise. And
There's a
then,
lot of improv
Yeah.
in this.
yeah,
You'd be
that's how we
surprised.
get to create
Like
a lot of fun things.
a lot
Because
of the montage, even kind of now it's not even a montage because there's actual like dialogue in it, but she like does laundry and then the microwave with the spoon and the onions and stuff. That used to be like a very short, like beat 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 montage to music, but they improv so much within it that the
Just let
editors
it
were like,
play.
no,
I
we
just
need
let it
to
play.
keep this
Never
in
got
here,
cut.
make it like a longer thing. Yeah, let it play.
Yeah.
So like the video games and there's so much
And they're
stuff that they
tossing
add.
each other with food and, and like little
Yes.
pie thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like on a kind of like an actor's note, it's always so much fun to get to actually play with like physical objects. And in comedy and especially in the script, we got to like play with a lot of things. We got to interact with our environment. Again, not as opposed to anything, but I think in a lot of verticals you kind of talk at each other a lot in a lot of situations. So getting to actually kind of move around in the space and play with books and stuff in bags and olive oil and things like that. It was just a lot of fun, and it makes the whole the improvisation and getting into the character and being more natural all the easier.
Yeah.
just to say as well, with the dog, we knew it was going to happen with the dog, but it was very sad. Your face, and then your face, and you're scooping it all up and putting it in the box. That was very, very well done with the dog. So thank you for that.
The dog is actually like fun fact. Like when we were writing the script, we were like, it wasn't in like any of the bare bone stuff. It was like a spur of the moment because we were like, what is something that she's gonna break that like Andy's actually gonna care? Because Andy's obviously rich, so anything like of value wouldn't work. And I think like the way me and Kaelyn works is like sometimes I would work ahead and then she would like edit stuff in the back and then like catch up to me. And I remember like writing it like I wrote the dog ashes idea down and she read it and she was like, oh my God, that's so dark, but it's also so funny at the same time. I was like, I like kind of handed in that draft thinking like that was gonna get cut for sure. But like apparently everyone loved it, so it got to stay at the end, and we got to play like with the hair dryer and stuff a little to like even spice it up a little more.
I have to say as well, I did ask the internet about the spoon in the microwave thing. I did say, does that really happen? And I got a lot of terrifying stories back about various people who've blown up microwaves as teenagers by doing that. So I now know you were quite right to say, do not put the spoon in the microwave. So yeah.
We're trying to make the world a safer place with this vertical,
It's education. You've educated me.
Exactly.
Is it really that bad? And then like someone sent me a video of it. Is this bad? Don't do it. It's okay, right, I won't do that. I have to ask.
Put tin foil in the microwave once, like for like
Yeah.
3 seconds, and then it was like, and I was like, oh. So right, tin foil either.
Don't do that.
Well,
So one of the best funny scenes early on is obviously when you're both trying to slightly, Corinne and Andy, trying to put each other off. Like, don't stay here. And yeah, there's that hilarious scene with, you spend a lot of time primping your hair. It's excellent with that hairdryer. That whole scene's hilarious. But also what I really liked is, I think it would have been easy to overwrite it and have Andy actually going to the loo, and it's better that he doesn't go to the loo. It never goes to course. That makes it funnier. Because I know that's sometimes what happens with some of the verticals when they try and put humour in, it goes to course, and it might work for American audience, but it doesn't work for a European one. So I just wanted to say, like, bravo for like getting it just right and not taking it too far.
It's funny because I was watching that scene and I couldn't remember. I'm like, am I about to? And then it gets cut off. I'm like, okay, that was the smart creative decision there. So well done to the right.
No.
And then I just want to talk about obviously once Corinne turns up at work, and then obviously it's Andy's firm. Again, it felt different for a CEO office because there's some quite nice generational things that you put in the writing. So it's the fact that they're a startup and the parents are like, yeah, but we're established. Was that intentional? Because that was actually really nice. I really like that. It made it more interesting, gave it a bit more depth.
Yes, it was intentional. They did want, pushy parents, like kind of villainous parents. And we didn't want Maura to be the same note as Ed Carlton. And we wanted them to have their own motivations and kind of give the actors a little more to work with in terms of what's going on with the parent characters. Because a lot of times they just come in and, slap someone and they're like, no, you will marry her. But we thought it would be interesting if, in a similar way that Corinne is trying to be independent, like Andy's also trying to make a name for himself. And so he's got this little burgeoning ad agency, not something big, wealthy corporate thing, but just kind of something small that he's very proud of. And his mom and her dad just don't get that. They don't understand that. We just kind of stepped into their shoes. Like, what would a parent think of this if they were like the typical, vertical parent? And it would be like, there'd be this big, divide, especially if those parents have, as we kind of show with his mom, like had an arranged marriage themselves, lived that life themselves. Like they're the grown-up version of a lot of the verticals we see. Like what would happen to these people 20 years later? What would they say to their kids? So yeah, and the actors obviously had fun playing with that. They were great.
Yeah.
Annie, I want to know, because you sit at that desk a lot and there's kind of typing and writing in the notebooks. I want to know what you're writing. Is it just a squiggle? Like, is there actual emails? Are you multitasking and doing work emails at the same time?
Actually, that actually has happened every now and then. Sometimes I'm writing down lines that I'm trying to remember. Sometimes it is just gibberish, things that would be inappropriate to say out loud that I hope that nobody ever finds scribbled on those notepads later on while they're looking through. Really some incriminating stuff on there. I'm going to be honest. But yeah, there's usually some, you try to, again, make it as, something kind of real to kind of ground you to the prop or to the setting in some form or another. But there's stuff there. There's some crazy stuff there. Some haikus, perhaps.
But you, Kirby, you got to wear some great suits when you have your power suit moment. It's fantastic.
My entire wardrobe for that show, I was just in love with the entire time. Mariah, who did costumes, she's so good. Actually, she let me keep a purse from that set, and I have it in most of my pictures nowadays, anytime I go anywhere. So
I also stole a bunch of stuff from that set, like a bunch of clothes, because Mariah is truly like one of the best. She's so good. I took like 4 pieces of clothing from that.
Yeah, because they're so cute.
That's awesome as well.
Yeah.
Because you have a stunning jumper. There's this gorgeous pink jumper you have with, I think, animals. Is it pandas on it or something? It's a really nice jumper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tiffany has that.
pink sweater.
Yeah, pink sweater.
Oh, you have that,
Lovely.
Tiffany?
Yeah, I have. That was the one item that I took from set. Yes, and every now and then I would like appear with it, and people are like, that looks very familiar. And I was like, yes, you see it on Kirby like a lot of times. Cohabitating, that's where you've seen it. But yeah,
We
It was-
also took 2 of Andy's bobbleheads, the dog bobbleheads. They were so cute. We have those.
I kept knocking them over though. Those and the little ninja guys, I kept like accidentally, like I couldn't keep them up.
yeah, we had to go with like non-copyrighted stuff. So like all of a sudden you had to find like really generic things online.
So I have to ask about the bookstore, because that's a really good Easter egg, Kaelyn, that, yeah, you are the... I mean, I kind of admired you, because I was a bookseller for 18 years. So I was like...
That's amazing.
I was like, good effort. Try and spot your mark and try and upsell them. Obviously, it doesn't work. Where was that filmed? Because the actual bookstore you're in is gorgeous. It's really nice.
We put it in the trivia on the IMDb page. It was filmed at a place called Stories Books and Cafe. It's a functional, like, real bookstore, and we shot there in the morning before they opened. It is such a cute place. They also have, like, a little back patio. If anyone from LA is watching this, please give them some business, because small bookstores obviously need it. It's called Stories.
And have either of... Presumably the rest of you have never actually got to go to a bookstore in a vertical. That's a bit new, because normally if you go shopping, it's
Yeah,
just a clothes shop,
I
isn't
never-
it?
That's
Or
why I
jewelry.
love it so much. It's just so not surreal, right? Because all the other verticals is like just all over the place, but this one is very solid. Honestly, I haven't seen one vertical that has gone to a bookstore, and actually, it's very hard to find a like actually functional bookstore. So we have to shoot it in the morning. Like we were only given 3 hours to shoot it there, right? And then we have to go. That's crazy.
I had wanted to, when I first wrote it, I was like, that would be fun, but I was a little nervous because I don't normally act. So it wasn't, we kept some backup options just in case I chickened out, or if there was any like producing fire that I had to go put out and I wasn't able to do it. Like if something happened and, I couldn't, like we could have cast one, but it actually, everything was going so smoothly that I was like, I guess I have no excuse not to do this now. And everyone was very encouraging. I had a fun time trying that out.
You did so
I have
good.
to ask everyone now, what was like their favourite moment or scene or memory from on set? Just ask everyone to go around and share.
I think my favorite will be the olive oil scene. I was not gonna, because originally we were not gonna put actual oil on the ground because that would be dangerous. So originally I wasn't planning to shoot any shot from the ground, but then I found out, with actual water on the ground, and that could work. So we sprayed some water on it, and then I had Kirby and Ali do the little dance move little ice skating move on the ground, and then they were just so good with it. And then I brought a stun pack over there for them to fall safely. And then I remember that night was being very fun. That scene, I love that scene. Yeah, good work, Kaelyn and Tiffany.
What about you, Tiffany? What was a favourite moment for you?
I think I really enjoyed the 2 supporting cast, Chelsea and Augustine. So the scene where all of them are having dinner together is actually like, it was really cool to see, because it was like the first time, well, I guess the only time you see the 4 of them interact with each other. And it was like about the only time that you see Andy and Corinne not directly like interacting with each other, but like with their friends, so that they get to be a little like I think it's like a little different when they're like with friends versus when they're just alone. So like when you see the 4 of them together and you see like the chemistry between everyone kind of coming alive, and seeing like, especially like Chelsea and Augustine had, that's like one of their only scenes, but it felt like they have sort of established that chemistry for like a long time, and just seeing the 4 of them talk to each other, like act naturally around each other, was like really fun for me to see.
What about you, Kaelyn?
In terms of behind the scenes stories, the funniest thing that comes to my mind is there was an office location that we shot all the office scenes at, and also the restaurant scenes, because it had sort of some restaurant sets in it. And Grace Swanson was actually our UPM on the project. And so she was handling, she was the bridge between us and the location. After we had fully wrapped out of that office location and had moved on to a different location, she heard from the office location that we had left a stain on a rug by the front door, by their entrance, like their entrance door mat. There had been a stain, probably a leaking trash bag is what we think. We were like, oh no, what's the cleaning fee? We'll pay it. We'll replace the mat if we need to. And the owner said, no, I want you to come here and clean it. And so Tiffany and Grace and I, while Dede was shooting, with them, like in the middle of a shooting day, the three of us went to Target, got carpet cleaning supplies, and went back to the office location, which was an hour drive because it was on the other side of LA. And all three of us got down on our hands and knees and tried to clean the stain out of this carpet. And there's a really funny photo of us, set trying to get this guy's forgiveness. But yeah, he refused the cleaning fee, so we had to go there.
Are you serious? That's
Yes.
that's the kind of stuff that I never know because I was always on set.
Yeah, it was
Really?
it was the last day. It was the last day when you guys were filming.
Yes,
And
it was.
the soundstage, we were gone for a little bit, and I think no one noticed. But we went and had to clean the stain because the manager was like really insisting that we had to
Really,
go.
is it the studio that we shot the last day?
You were there. It was the office building, though.
Office building. So I remember the owner being very nice, but he kind of refused you to
Well, it
do.
was like almost like we can't really tell if he was joking or not, but we took it very seriously and we went and actually
Yeah,
cleaned it.
sometimes you can really tell if it's
Yeah.
joking or not.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm sure you can imagine Tiffany, Grace, and I like screaming.
What's even funnier is Grace has played a few roles where she's undercover as a cleaner, so it kind of fits with that.
I think she said that. She was like, I've trained for this.
She's won a bit for cleaning gear in her time. What about you, Ali? Any favourite moments or bits you particularly liked?
Yeah, I mean, two scenes honestly were probably some of my favorite scenes to ever film in vertical or otherwise. The bookstore scene, which we discussed. I love rom-coms. I felt like I was in Notting Hill. I felt like I was in 10 Things I Hate About You. I love bookstores and books in general, and it was so cool to film a scene in a bookstore finally. And then another one I have to shout out, Trisha Connor Jackson, another vertical legend. She played my mom in this, and we had a scene. I'm gonna be honest, I actually haven't watched it yet, but it happens at some point where we're having dinner together, and we're discussing my future, and she's giving me her story as well. And honestly, it was one of my favorite scenes that I've ever filmed. It was probably the most like grounded conversation that I've ever had with a parent in a vertical. And it was just extremely well written. So flowers to the writers. And Trisha and I, we've acted together in a couple of verticals, and they're usually a little bit more of the heightened ones. And it was just so cool to get to uh, kind of dial it back a little bit and have like a really real and raw interaction. And I just love filming that scene. Yeah, both of those honestly easily in my top five, like in terms of acting in anything. So just huge thanks to Kaelyn and Tiffany for that.
I know which scene that is. It is amazing because, yeah, as you said, there's more of a conversation and she's actually really hurt. She's like, look, I had to do this. This is my life. It's kind of what you need to do. And it's just the way it's written, but also the way she delivers it, as you said, that it's real and not that sort of histrionics slap and storm out. It's very, very good. And actually, I think I kind of identified it with situations of my parents. So yeah, kudos to that one. It's brilliant. And then Kirby, what about you?
I mean, every day on set, we were doing something that I loved, and it felt like I was just like hanging out with friends all day. It was like amazing. But I have to say, my favorite scene is probably the first scene of the film, just because like it's just so like funny. Like this girl in this wedding dress, and they're fighting over this door, and he has a key and she has a key, and they're like, no. Like I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to do that again, you know? And I was like, this is like iconic. And I felt like I was in one of those like classic rom-coms filming that. And yeah, so it has to be my favorite.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the obvious question now, since we've talked about rom-coms. Can everyone share what their favourite rom-com is? Wants to go first?
10 Things I Hate About You. That's
Anything
not-
to about you? Solid choice, excellent choice. Any other?
That's one of my favorites too. I think one of my all-time favorite movies actually is Pride and Prejudice, like the 2005 one. I guess that's
Keira
the one.
Knightley.
Yes, Keira Knightley. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I love a lot.
That's the one I was thinking. That one. That's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kate Hudson, Hugh McConaughey. What about you, Tiffany? You on the
But I
spot?
think like Love Actually, probably like I rewatched that like quite often. But I love actually like Notting Hill. I think both are pretty solid choices for me.
Dede, obviously we could say My Secret Agent Husband. That would work.
No, I'm not that cocky. I'll say It's One Day by Anne Hathaway. Yeah, but
That's
yeah,
a bit more heartfelt, that one.
yeah. Well, fun fact, I'm not really a rom-com guy in real life. Right? I love action movies and fantasy. But it's just vertical. It's just a love story along, yeah, for all vertical is just love story only. So I would really love to do other genre. I mean, from a director's perspective, I would really love to do other genres, right? Other than just romance.
Yeah. I just say action needs to happen because having seen some of your action scenes in My Secret Agent Husband, Secret Agent Husband 2, you've proved you can do action vertical. I happen to know there's
Yeah,
someone very good at action as
thank
Miss
you. That's why I
Sally.
really just love
And
to
I'm
do
sure Kirby, I'm sure you could get in on it, couldn't you? I'm sure there's an action star somewhere there waiting to.
I mean, I would love to play an undercover spy. I'm just putting that out there. Put me in a number 3, coach.
So yeah, just finishing on that, kind of each of you, sort of what is the reaction you've had from fans about this project, and kind of what are your hopes with its success that you'll be able to push forward in verticals? What news stories would you like to tell even?
Well, I first of all, I think it's kind of sad to not have. I would really love another sequel for this one because I would really love to work with all of you again. It's kind of sad for me that I don't get to have script like that anymore, like from other writers, right? It's just all very dramatic verticals, and I just would really love to do another one exactly like this, like very just solid, grounded rom-com with not just CEO or just about rich people again, right? So what I would love is if the platform really love it. I mean, we made it to Reelshort. I thought this was gonna be on a Sereal Plus only, but we made it to Reelshort, and it's doing very great on Reelshort. So hopefully, if the platform really love it, and they would love to fund another sequel for this one, so we get to have the story. Yeah, finger crossed for that. We get to have the story continue.
Yeah, and I think just like in general, sort of like because all of us have been in the vertical space for like a year-ish now, at least. I think so. Like a lot of times when we're like pitching ideas or even when we're like trying to edit the script, we were always like told that since we're not the target audience, we don't get to like decide over the platform about like what the audience likes. So like while like we were like believing in this script from the beginning, we were also like a little nervous because it is so different from traditional verticals about like how people are actually gonna. Because I was like, there is like a 1% chance that I actually do not understand the vertical audience at all, and that they actually feel like this one is too like tame or too whatever. And so like it was really nice to see like everyone who is doing vertical reviews talking about it and like in a very positive way. And I think it does help push to our cause in terms of creating sort of a better, more positive trend. It is hard pushing these verticals because it's just like they're like, that's not what verticals are. But like, I think with like a success like this, and I think if we get like a little bit more publicity on like cohabitating or just like convince more people to be more vocal about that this is indeed like what the audience want, like this is where the vertical place should be like toward, because I think there's always a goal of integrating vertical with like the mainstream platforms or mainstream media. But I think that's like the key is like sort of you have to have scripts that are mimicking or like at least have the same vibe as like movie scripts or stuff. And I think that's like where I want to personally see where vertical go in the future. I want to see like more scripts like this being produced instead of just like the same idea being reproduced over and over again just because like one did very successful. I think like they were learning the hard way that that doesn't work anymore. So I think like when they're like looking to be trailblazers or like be like pioneers in sort of different type of storytelling, they would look to the success of cohabitating and be like, what about we try something that is not super abusive, super traumatic? What if we try something that is like something that like a 20-something-year-old American audience would also enjoy, instead of just like what the hypothetical audience they have in mind. So like I think it's just I want to encourage more platform to think outside the box and also to push for more content that is more like that everyone would enjoy watching, you know?
Yeah.
Kaelyn, do you want to add to that? Or kind of, I mean, Tiffany said it beautifully.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it is definitely hard to pitch stories like this and say, like, this will really resonate with audiences, or say, you know, hey, we'd like to pivot away from what you're asking us to do. Like the stories that have become popular because they point to it and say, this does resonate with audiences. It's over 100 million views and it's been trending for 2 weeks. And you're like, it's hard to fight that. It absolutely is clearly, you know, those stories are still doing well. So yeah, the better that cohabitating does, the more we can, you know, take another story like this and be like, here, look, like it does resonate with an audience. Yeah, I think, yeah, the more love it gets, the easier it is for us to sell, to be able to write more stories like this and actually get them made, because we have more ideas. But Tiffany and I, yeah, like Kirby and Ali and Dede were saying, like we've done projects since cohabitating and they were typical vertical content. This is kind of lightning in a bottle. Like, I don't know when we'll get an opportunity again to do something we like this much.
Oh boy. It's, just kind of temper myself here. It kind of comes back to this idea of, are verticals a genre or a medium, and kind of where vertical exists within the attention economy. I mean, when you're watching something on your phone, it's a little bit different than when you're watching something on your TV, because at any given second, you can swipe away and be in a completely different universe on your phone. And that is something that's really difficult to compete with, and it's really difficult to get eyeballs on things, which I think informs, and from a business perspective, clearly effectively informs the production decisions, the story decisions, and, if we're being honest, the casting decisions as well for most vertical projects. And that's going to be a difficult thing, I think, to move away from. Ultimately, this is a business, and they have to make, and God bless verticals, because they have given so many of us jobs, consistent jobs, for so long now. And it's honestly been, it's been incredible, because at the end of the day, everybody here is a creative and we get to create. And that's honestly all that we want to do. But, to Kaelyn's point, Cohabitating Lovers did well. My CEO, step uncle's pregnant stepwife is going to get 100 million views. Whether that's because of the title or the quality, who's to say? The marketing, who's to say? But it's been a really fun journey, and it's been a lot of great opportunities. And where it goes from here, well, that's up to production, that's up to audiences, and from an actor's perspective, we're just happy to get to tell stories.
So I want to say thank you so much to all of you, because you've all given up precious 45 minutes of your time. So I just want to know, do we think Andy and Corinne live happily ever after?
Totally. Oh yeah, they're like an old married couple.
Well, something happened to them, so we get a sequel.
Yeah, we need a sequel. That would work brilliantly.
Yeah.
So, okay, right, petition starts now for the sequel.
I would like to meet Chloe, the golden child older sister. Who is she?
Yeah, we never see her, do we?
And
Right.
where's Betty's love interest? I want a happy ending for Betty.
Betty, I love Betty. Please, make a story.
Shout out to Celine. We love her. It was so fun to have her. Luke and Monica, like...
That was one of the lovely things, that when Andy lets her down, it's quite nicely. It's quite well handled. So, yeah, it's lovely. Yeah. Right, okay, so we need to see the older sister, we need Betty, and we need to see you two bickering, okay, over babies and who changes the nappy. This all sounds brilliant. There's a lot of nappy-based humour you could put in here.
You got it.
Yeah, just thank you again so much for all of your time. Yeah,
So nice
just
to meet you, Jen.
thank you.
Real quick, Jen, I did just want to say thank you so much for approaching verticals with a critical lens. I think it's really important. I think it's really important work that you're doing, and it has the potential to really elevate the entire genre, medium, whatever have you. So thank you for
Yes.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so
having
much
us.
for everything you're doing.